Hello students. Now we're going to go ahead and continue on pages 47 and 48 of the Ready Common Core book. Okay, that's the book in the back of the room. It says Ready Common Core. You should already have had 45 and 46 done. That would be the previous video. If you haven't done 45 and 46, please stop this video and go ahead and open that one up and start that video. So let's go ahead and get going. It says, after guarding the boy, Bill speaks with Sam before they write the ransom note. So remember that we're reading a story where there's a kidnapping, and the little boy that they kidnap is kind of an aggressive little boy. He throws a brick at the guy who's trying to kidnap him. To continue reading, then answer the question that follows. So right here, it goes ahead and tells us that we need to close read. It says, underline at least 2 details that help you understand Bill's feelings about the boy. So I want you to do that, but I also want you to add to that close read 3 keywords. So I'm going to write that on this side. 3 keywords. And then I also want you to add what you notice. I notice, okay? So we're going to add those components. And then one other component is a question. I want you to ask a question. And we'll start with the question word, why? There's no right or wrong way to close read, but I'm just giving you some tricks so that as you're close reading now as a student, you can start using this as you get older. It'll make more sense to you. You'll be able to use it without really thinking about it. It'll be kind of natural for you. So that's our goal, is for close reading to be just natural, something you just always do. I always like to write on whatever it is I'm reading. It just helps me kind of think through it. So feel free to write all over your paper. That's why you have the papers. This is a continuation from page 46. You know, Sam, says Bill, I've stood by you without batting an eye in earthquakes, fire, and flood, in poker games, dynamite outrages, police raids, train robberies, and cyclones. I never lost my nerve yet till we kidnapped that 2-legged skyrocket of a kid. So right off the bat, I'm noticing something about Bill's feelings. So it says, underline the details that help you understand Bill's feelings. So the fact that he called him a 2-legged skyrocket of a kid. So let's underline that. And then something that I noticed personally is the fact that these guys have done a lot of bad things in their lives. They're pretty experienced criminals. So I'm going to put right here, I notice they are experienced criminals. They are experienced criminals. I'm going to go ahead and write that down, because that stood out to me right away. Because obviously they're dealing with a rough kid if these experienced criminals are pretty upset with this boy. I'll be back sometime this afternoon, says I. You must keep the boy amused and quiet till I return. And now we'll write the letter to old Dorset. Bill and I got paper and pencil and worked on the letter. Bill begged me tearfully to make the ransom $1,500 instead of $2,000. Right away I have a why there. I'm gonna go ahead and underline that because I think that's important. So Bill, he begged me to make the ransom $1,500 instead of $2,000. And a question I'm going to ask is, why does he want to make the ransom less? Why does he want to make the ransom less? And I put that on the side there. As I said in the other video, feel free to pause. If I'm going too fast, you can pause. You don't have to use the same notice and what the questions that I'm putting, but it's just here to help you, to guide you through the process of learning how to close read. I ain't attempting, says he, to decry the celebrated moral aspect of parental affection, but we're dealing with humans, and it ain't human for anybody to give $2,000 for that 40-pound chunk of freckled wildcat. Woo! 40-pound chunk of freckled wildcat. Man, so he really does not like this kid. I'm willing to take a chance at $1,500. You can charge the difference up to me. Wow. So he really doesn't like this kid. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my 3 keywords, kind of going through it. Right now I'm skimming this section. What is it that's standing out to me? Wildcat stands out because that's a description of the little boy. Skyrocket, another description of the boy. And then the word begged. Okay, I went ahead and I chose those 3 words because I think they all are important to understanding the overall meaning. Remember that when we're close reading, the purpose of close reading is to ask the questions why. What does this mean? Okay, so remember that close reading is trying to figure out what does it mean. So now we have a multiple choice question at the very bottom. We want to talk through getting this answer correct. Why does Bill want to make the boy's ransom $1,500 instead of $2,000? So here we go. We already figured out that this is what they were going to ask. And it gives us a little hint. It says, look for text evidence suggesting that Bill thinks a $2,000 ransom is too much. All right, so here we go. Answer A. And a word of advice when taking a multiple choice test or whatever you're doing with multiple choice, read every answer because you might think it's A, but C is better. So let me start over. Why does Bill want to make the boy's ransom $1,500 instead of $2,000? A, he knows the boy's father won't be able to afford a $2,000 ransom. Okay, I don't think they say anything about him being poor, but let's leave that on the table for a second. B, he believes it's morally wrong to ask for any ransom at all. Morally wrong? This is somebody who's had fires and dynamite, and I don't think so. B doesn't make much sense. C, he thinks the boy is so difficult that his parents might not want to spend much money to get him back. Well, there are hints that say that the boy is difficult, so it could be C. Right now, C is my favorite answer, but let's read D. He worries that Sam will get nervous and back out of the plan if they ask for too much money. Well, there's nothing to indicate that Sam is nervous. Sam seems like he's ready to go. It's the other guy, Bill, that seems nervous. So I would say the best answer there is what? Yes, the best answer is C, absolutely. And the reason we know C is the best answer, and we can kind of draw some lines up to the front, is that there are 2 different lines, and in our close reading, we already pointed those out. There are 2 different lines in which he refers to the boy as difficult. One is when he calls him a skyrocket of a kid, and the other is when he calls him a 40-pound chunk of freckled wildcat. So clearly Bill is not a fan of this little boy, and he wants to get rid of him. So he's like, give me $1,500. I would guess, I would infer, I would make an inference that he would even take less than that. And then it says, show your thinking at the very bottom. Bill calls the boy a 40-pound chunk of freckled wildcat. What does he mean? With a partner, apply background knowledge to make an inference about the meaning of Bill's comments. So again, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. What does he mean when he calls him a 40-pound chunk of freckled wildcat? Take a moment and on your paper, you have this little space here. You can just write a response really quick or write it down here. It doesn't matter. Go ahead and take a minute to write a response. I'm not going to write it down, but I'll go ahead and kind of talk you through it. 40 pounds, so we assume the boy, he's referring to the weight of the boy. Freckled wildcat. So imagine trying to kidnap like a jaguar or a cheetah or a tiger. This is how intense this man feels about why he doesn't want to kidnap, how hard it is to keep this boy caged and kidnapped. So clearly this kidnapping, this ransom that they put together was a lot more difficult than they anticipated. Okay? Again, feel free to pause the video so that you can go ahead and write your answer from the bottom part. Which leads us, of course, to part 4. Read about the unexpected note Sam and Bill receive in response to their ransom request. Use the study buddy and close reading to guide your reading. So again, we're close reading, okay? And again, just like before, I want you to find 3 keywords, okay? And I wrote that right there on the side, 3 keywords. And then on the bottom here, and I'm kind of folding the paper here, I notice, and then whatever you notice, and then a question word. We'll stick with why. Why is probably the easiest of them all. Remember to end that with the question mark as opposed to a period. Now we have a little part right here where it says, will the boy's father agree to the terms of the ransom note? I'll underline sentences that tell what he thinks of the kidnapper's demands. And then for the Ready Common Core, it's asking you, find and star the sentence in the letter that suggests how the boy's neighbors will feel about his return home. So we already know he's like this wild kid. How will the neighbors feel getting him back home? And then it said, which phrases in paragraphs 4 and 5 are clues that tell you how the two kidnappers feel about Ebenezer Dorset's offer? Circle these words and phrases. So we're going to kind of do that anyway in our keywords and in our notice and in our question. So let's get started with the reading. Gentlemen, I received your letter today by post. In regard to the ransom, you asked for the return of my son. I think you are a little high in your demands. Oh my gosh, so right away notice it's high in the demands. He doesn't want to pay the money for his boy. And I hereby make you a counter proposition, which I am inclined to believe you will accept. You bring Johnny home and pay me $250 in cash. And I agree to take him off your hands. You had better come at night, for the neighbors believe he is lost, and I couldn't be responsible for what they would do to anybody they saw bringing him back. Very respectfully, Ebenezer Dorset. Wow. So clearly, Ebenezer Dorset is aware of how bad his little boy is, so bad that he's like, you pay me to take my son off of your hands. So he's rejecting it altogether. He's saying, I'm not going to give you anything. Wow. So right off I'm looking for some keywords, and I also want to star the sentence that suggests how the boy's neighbors feel. That's on the bottom there. It says, you better come, for the neighbors believe he is lost, and I couldn't be responsible. So I'm going to star this section here. I couldn't be responsible for what they would do to anybody saw them bringing him back. Okay? And then I'm going to get at least one keyword out of there. And I kind of have a whole key section where it says high in your demands. I'm going to circle that as a kind of a key word, key phrase, because I think that's important. Now we're in paragraph 2. Great pirates of Penzance, says I. Of all the impudent, but I glanced at Bill and hesitated. He had the most appealing look in his eyes I ever saw on the face of a dumb or a talking brute. Sam, he says, what's $250 after all? We've got the money. One more night of this kid will send me to a bed in Bedlam. Besides, being a thorough gentleman, I think Mr. Dorset is a spendthrift for making us such a liberal offer. You ain't going to let the chance go, are you? Tell you the truth, Bill, says I. This little ewe lamb has somewhat got on my nerves too. We'll take him home, pay the ransom, and make our getaway. We took him home that night. We got him to go by telling him that his father had bought a silver-mounted rifle and a pair of moccasins for him, and we were going to hunt bears the next day. It was just 12 o'clock when we knocked at Ebenezer's front door. Just at that moment, when I should have been abstracting the $1,500 from the box under the tree, according to the original proposition, Bill was counting out $250 into Dorset's hand. So what I notice